Well, we continue our discussion around the crime statistics that were released yesterday, and South Africans have reacted with concern to these latest statistics released in Parliament yesterday. And as discussed with the National Police Commissioner a short while ago, contact crime has gone up in all provinces. Murder, robbery at residential premises and commercial crimes, they all went up. Sexual offences increased by 4.6%. In actual numbers, this means that there were 52,420 reported cases, and that figure is more than 2,300 more than the previous year. Decreases were, however, noted in bank robberies, cash-in-transit heists, as the Commissioner pointed out, and also truck hijackings. Joining us now is Diketso Mufamadi, who is a researcher for the Justice and Violence Prevention Program at the Institute for Security Studies, to talk to us about these statistics and, of course, more importantly, I suppose, possible solutions to the crime situation. Thanks so much for coming through this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
So firstly, let's just reflect on what these stats are telling us and also our reaction to it, because we have become numb. We've been desensitized to the seriousness of what these statistics actually reveal about our nation.
Absolutely. The murder rate and sexual violence rates have stayed high for the longest time. So we've seen these trends for a very long time. What is very important for us as a nation to start doing is start thinking about alternative measures. What can we do to stop South Africa from being so violent? That's what I'm here to talk to you about today. Just in terms of violence prevention, it's very important to start doing and thinking in a different way.
Okay, so let's start with something practical now, because from yesterday's statistics, the ISS has indicated that almost 60% of women who were killed, who were murdered by their partners, about 60% of them were shot dead.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that in terms of gun control in this country and what could possibly be done to try and intervene here to decrease this.
So what we know is that the numbers of murders have gone up from 56 murders per day in 2017-2018 to 58 in 2018-2019. We know that these murders are happening over the weekends. We know that they're exacerbated by substance abuse, and we know that they're happening in the home, exactly what you said. So 57% of those murders that are happening in domestic violence situations are actually happening in the home. What we need to start doing is, number one, it is very important to have strict gun control rules and laws and regulations. So, for example, a person who has been violent before cannot possibly get a gun license. A person who has been violent and used a gun, that license needs to be revoked. We need to start implementing support structures within the home, so that, because we know that Diketso said yesterday that the police doesn't have a mandate to go into the home. So what they can do is only react after sexual violence has happened, after domestic violence has happened, essentially after someone has been hurt. We need to get in before someone gets hurt.
Now, as you say, and these are in very intimate environments. Then you have another disturbing one, the murder rate amongst children. Not only have more children been murdered, but also more children have become murderers themselves.
Yes, more children we're seeing are perpetrators. It's quite interesting. And it all goes back to violence prevention, which is why we need to go back into the home. Because we know that children learn by seeing, not by what you tell them. So, for example, if a child is in a household where mom and dad are fighting, and when they are upset or over the weekends they shout and they scream at one another, this child gets desensitized to all of this violence, and so grows up to perpetuate this violence. We know that children who are experienced or who are exposed to violence in their childhood grow up to perpetuate these things. So we know that in what we do to our children today, research tells us that it reflects directly what our society will be in the next 20 years. We need to start investing in our children.
Now, in my earlier conversation with General Kehla Sithole, the police commissioner, he kept emphasizing the fact that this is going to have to be a collective effort, as you quoted the police minister as well, about the home and the home environment, and where the police cannot necessarily penetrate that environment, but there are other environments where they can perhaps do more. So let's talk about solutions with regard to police resources and, of course, manpower or woman power, person power, as the commissioner was alluding to earlier on, because he says the population has grown and the police numbers have decreased.
Absolutely. What we need is a collaboration. So exactly as the Commissioner said, we need to have the police there because obviously they can regulate. They're the ones that need to respond after something has happened. But we also need the police to start working very closely with civil society organizations that are already implementing these programs out on the ground. We know that there is a lot that is being done. However, the issue is we're not collaborating, nor are we doing a map. We need a map of the work that is being done. So, for example, the work that is being done to prevent violence in the Eastern Cape, for example, is not known in Limpopo. We need all of these initiatives to be drawn up, mapped up, and the ones that work, we need them to be upscaled to everyone. We know that people who are socially and economically at risk are the ones that are most likely to go into violence and perpetuate violence. This is where we start, and we need to start rolling them out absolutely everywhere.
So how do we then finally just improve on that relationship and decrease the trust deficit between the police and the communities that they serve, because that is a serious problem. And, you know, you look at, for example, sexual offences against women. Although the increases, the number of sexual offences has increased by 4.6%, the number of reported cases has actually decreased. So it would seem as though women feel that it's a waste of time going and reporting these crimes to the police.
Absolutely. What we're sitting with at the moment is exactly what you've said, is a lack of trust for the police. So women don't feel as though, or people in general don't feel as though if something has been, if a crime has been committed against me, I certainly don't feel as though if I go into a police station that they will take it seriously, that they will take it forward. We need better policing, but we also need better leadership within our police. We need to completely restructure. We need people who are able to lead the police, who are able to lead us. That is how we increase the trust in our society for the police. We also need collaboration, again, like I said, with civil society, because it's not just the police who can do this. Crime and violence in our society in South Africa right now is each and every one's problem. We need to make it our problem. We need each and every person needs to, you know, take ownership of this issue.
So just talking about what's happening right now in the Sandton CBD north of Johannesburg, where you have civil society who have converged there on the economic hub, the biggest one on the African continent, and they're saying business has not done enough. They need corporates to come to the party. Do you think that, you know, this is an integral part of the solution to the scourge against gender-based violence, at least, and of course other crimes as well? Does business need to do more?
Absolutely. Everyone needs to do more. In fact, what we are doing, what we have been doing since 2015 as the Institute for Security Studies, is hosting a series of meetings twice a year between all role players, all stakeholders. So that is government, civil society organizations that are implementing violence prevention programs. We are meeting with researchers who are developing these programs to begin with. Organizations that are involved are people like SABC, the Department of Social Development, etc. And another thing that we're trying to do is bring the business as well, because we're all stakeholders in bringing down the violence in this country, and so we need funds, you know, and the more funds we have to actually accelerate this, the better. And,
you know, when it comes to funds, people will say, we never know where it goes. It never actually does what it's intended to do.
That is very unfortunate, and that's why we need better regulations, you know, in all aspects, not just in SAPS, not just building trust within the SAPS, but also within the people that are getting the funds. It needs to be a concerted effort.
Well, thank you so much, Diketso Mufamadi, who is a researcher for the Justice and Violence Prevention Program at the Institute of Security Studies, and talking to us about the crime statistics, especially against women and children, that was released in Parliament yesterday, and looking at what are some of the possible solutions. What do we need to do as a society holistically in order to try and bring down these numbers that we are currently dealing with? With that, it brings us up to news time with Leanne at 7.